Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC 71, Whittacker versus Adesanya. It was an interesting card. The last week, unfortunately, we only went 3 of 6 on picks. We had one lock. Miles Johns let us down with the other. We had one total and we had one dog. So we just had one of everything hit. I mean, it is what it is. That's the world of betting UFC. It could have been a bum night. It ended up being just breaking even, but I mean, it is what it is. It's all you can ask for. So again, we have 15 fights to go over this card. So far, we've had none fall off. So, I mean, knock on wood, it's probably going to end up being about 13 fights when all is said and done. But hey, that's still a lot compared to what's been going on. So I'm not going to waste any of the time, especially if all 15 actually go through. There are a few repeat fights on here, so we can kind of use those to save some time. But we're also going to go backwards. We usually start with, in order from the first fight down. But we're going to just start at the main event. What people really want to hear about are takes on the main event. And then, the lesser important as you go down the way. So let's just start with the top. I see a lot of other people doing it. I'm going to try it out this time as well, see how it works out. So make sure you give a like, make sure you give a follow, make sure you have any comments on which way you like better. Otherwise, we're going to start with the main event here. We have Israel Adesanya as a minus 290 favorite going up against Robert Whittaker plus 220. Over is set at 4.5. Over 4.5 is minus 135. Under 4.5 plus 105. Not a lot to break down here because we know these gentlemen very, very well. We'll go ahead and we'll start with Israel Adesanya. That's how Ariel says it. That's how he has said it. So that's the way I'm going to say it. He does great striking. Best striking in the middleweight division. Probably in every promotion, in all honesty. He is the best striker. I understand that the guy that knocked him out in glory is now in the UFC, but again, until you prove it in the MMA level, Israel is the best striker in MMA at 185. His jiu-jitsu game is a work in progress, but it's getting there. I mean, we've seen like Marvin Vettori have his back and have a choke in, and he was able to escape. Jan is a black belt. He was on top of him, wasn't able to submit him. So he's definitely found his holes and definitely worked on them. He has a 7-inch reach advantage in this matchup, which is key. That's huge here. 80% takedown defense. So yes, he's showing that he's improved on the ground, but it's difficult to get him there in general. And his cardio checks out, man. He's never tired in a fight. We've seen him in wars against Kevin Gastelum. We've seen him in wars against, go 5 rounds against Jan, 5 rounds against Yoel, even though I don't think I would have got tired in that fight. 5 rounds against Marvin. Like the dude goes 5 rounds often, and he looks perfectly fine in them. So no real negatives with Israel's game. His only loss ever is when he went up a weight class to try to become a champ. So not a lot of negatives there. When it comes to the Whittaker side, honestly, not a lot of negatives there either. This is 1A, 1B in the division. I think Adesanya beats every single person in the middleweight division. I think Robert Whittaker beats every single person in the middleweight division. They just happen to run into each other. Robert, who was part of like the Australian wrestling team, so he has a wrestling pedigree. He's very, very good at wrestling. He has great striking too. I say Adesanya is probably number 1. I would say Robert is like top 5 in striking. So not only does he have the wrestling in his back pocket, he's a phenomenal striker. He can dictate where the fight takes place. He's great on the ground as well. He's just all around well-rounded. He is a former champ, so he's used to the spotlight. There are a few things here though, because this is a rematch. This, in all honesty, I feel the very, very first meeting, we're going to see a different Robert Whittaker this time. Last time he went back-to-back 10 straight rounds with Yoel Romero and like the killer Romero, so that is not an easy feat. Then I understand that he had some injuries. I know his children had some things going on where he had to like donate like blood and stuff like that. Like he was doing a lot. I forgot what it was, but I know his child was sick and he gave some part of his body to help out. He was talking about being in a depression. I mean, if you have a sick child, you're the pressure of being the champ. There's a lot of stuff going on mentally, and I believe him 110% where he said he was not the right Robert. He came in angry too. That was not Bobby Knuckles. That was Robert Whittaker the first time. In addition, this fight really does like kind of remind me of the like Stipe versus DC trilogy in that sense. Stipe just went through a war. with Francis Ngannou. And then he had fought DC. DC came in and got that early finish. And then they rematched. And in all honesty, Stipe showed he was just a better fighter at that point. I think DC was the overall better fighter. He won the most rounds in that trilogy. But Stipe got his hand raised and he found a way. And I think that's kind of the same thing that's going to happen here with Bobby Knuckles. Also, again, you want to talk about fight tape? We've seen this fight before, and we didn't see it for a few seconds. We saw it for we saw it for 2 rounds. So at that juncture, Robert didn't go out there and get smoked. Yes, he got knocked out in the second round. Yes, he got dropped in the first. But it's not like he went out there and just got crushed. It was a competitive round, and then he got dropped to the end of the first round, and I don't think he ever fully recovered. He came back in the second round, looked great to start the second round, was winning the fight, and then got caught again and got put out permanently. So it's not as if Israel just, on paper, yes, he came out here and dropped him twice and finished the job. But when you actually watch the fight, Robert is very big on blitz attacks, and he was connecting with Izzy, and they were connecting with each other. It's just he went down. And some of that could have been the wear and tear with the wars with Yoel. He took a year off. He fought Jared Cannonier and his chin checked out. He fought Darren Till, and he did get rocked, but he didn't go out like he did against Izzy. He just needed that time off. In all honesty, I think it's a 50-50 fight. I think it's a lot closer than what the odds have. So do I think if they fight 10 times, do I think Israel Adesanya wins most of them? Yes. Do I think he should be a minus 300 favorite, basically? And Robert, you can get plus 220 on a coin flip fight? Absolutely not. So the pick is going to be Izzy, but if I'm a betting man, you cannot bet minus 300 on Izzy. I think that's where you actually take the shot on Bobby Knuckles. He's that good. Then the next fight of the night is probably going to be the most fun fight. We have Derek Lewis at minus 190 going up against Tai Tuivasa plus 150. Of course, with these big boy heavy hitters, we have it set at 1.5 over 1.5 is plus 150, under 1.5 minus 190. We can go ahead and we can start with the hometown kid, baby. Derek Lewis fighting in Texas again. Good striking, obviously, the most knockout wins in UFC history. He does, I can't say he gasses, but he slows considerably. But he does carry the power. So he'll throw less volume. And not like he's a very potent striker in regards to, on a volume standpoint. He is very, very low volume. He basically gets hit as much as he hits you, but it only takes one with this dude. And he has a 4-inch reach advantage in this fight, which I think is very, very key, and something that's going to be predominantly stand-up. He's very, very patient, does not throw much, and then he either counters or just randomly explodes with like a flying knee or a weird combination. It's very weird. He kind of lulls you to sleep and then just cracks you, and all it takes is one with him. Tai is kind of the opposite. He generally comes in and just tries to blitz you. There's no feeling out process with Tai Tuivasa. He comes in, he wants to knock you out, and then he wants to drink a beer out of fan shoe. That's all he wants to do. It works a lot of the times. The dude's 14-3. Yeah, it's gonna work with the Harry Hunsuckers of the world, with the Stefan Struves of the world. Hell, it almost didn't work against Greg Hardy. It was only a minute fight. Greg Hardy rocked him like twice. And then he went in to finish Tai, and Tai actually ended up knocking Greg out as Greg was rushing in and just barreling in. So, yeah, Tai definitely packs a punch. He has good striking, good power. He gasses as well. So both of them are going to slow down. But I think Tai gasses opposed to Lewis, who slows. Tai is the one that likes to go forward, but Lewis likes backing up and countering anyway. And Tai has some pretty high volume for heavyweight, almost 5 significant strikes per minute. He will clinch, though. He's been training at AKA, and he's trying to work on his clinch game, which obviously helped a lot against Augusta Sakai. Sakai loves like Muay Thai plums and cage work, and he was able to hold his own on the cage. So could I see him coming out and trying to kind of just not take down Lewis per se? He tried to take down Sakai, but he didn't fully commit. He's not going to want to just go out there and shoot a takedown on Lewis either. Will he try to push him up against the cage, kind of negate some of that power? Absolutely. I think he's going to. But this is also the co-main event of the evening. And this is Tai with a crowd. And I think Tuivasa is going to let the crowd get to him and engage in a brawl. If he hears any sort of booing from holding him up against the crowd, up against the cage, he is a crowd favorite. He will stop the game plan and just get into a brawl. And I don't think you do that with Derek Lewis. Either one can go out. It's not like Lewis is not susceptible to getting knocked out. He's been knocked out a plethora of times. But at this point, I'm going to trust the guy. If they hit each other, kind of like Greg Hardy and Tai Tuivasa did, I think Tai goes out instead of getting rocked. So the pick is going to be Lewis. The bet is going to be Lewis. But that is a very, very close fight. That's also kind of a coin flip. So I can see either way betting. I wouldn't really throw Lewis in any parlays. All right, then the next fight of the night is probably one of my biggest locks of the night. We have Jared Cannonier minus 175 going up against Derek Brunson plus 140. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 minus 110, under 2.5 minus 120. Let's go ahead and start with the light heavyweight. Current middleweight Jared Cannonier. Cannonier is good, man. I think he's overrated. I used to think he was overrated, but I'm starting to warm up to him a little bit. You see a 14-5 record. The crazy thing is only one of those are at middleweight. He lost to Dominic Reyes. He has really good losses. When you really look at his losses, he lost to Sean Jordan at heavyweight. Sean Jordan was a thing at one point. He was very, very good at one point. But again, that was at heavyweight. Then he lost to Glover Teixeira, who is the current champ. Then he lost to Jan Blachowicz, who was he lost to Glover, who's a current champ. He lost to Jan, who was the former champ. And he lost to Dom Reyes, who was a two-time title challenger. And then he lost to Robert Whittaker, who is a former champ and currently fighting for the belt again at middleweight. So the dude has literally only lost to champions and contenders, like legitimately. Besides one knockout against Sean Jordan, 7 years ago at heavyweight. The dude's legit. Are some of his wins good? I don't know. That's the part that throws me off. I think that the David Branch fight was overrated. I know he has a big dog that fight, but we figured out that David Branch was a fraud. He beat Anderson Silva via leg kick. That was an old decrepit Anderson Silva. That was like 41-year-old Anderson Silva. Obviously not the same guy. He beat Jack Hermanson, which I think is a good win. I'll give him the Jack Hermanson win. Jack came out hot, took him down a few times, tried to control him, but he was able to get up and go ahead and take care of business. I will give him the Jack win. Loss to Robert Whittaker. Again, Bobby Knuckles may be the best middleweight in the division. 50-50 with him and Adesanya. And then you have Kelvin Gastelum, who I think is actually a pretty good win. I know Kelvin has been in a little bit of a slump lately and is really a natural welterweight. But Kelvin's good. You can't take the talent away. And Jared did his job. I thought Kelvin had a chance. I had a bet on Kelvin because I thought it was too much. I thought Jared was too steamed, but I was wrong. He went in and he handled business. So those last two wins, the Jack and Kelvin, are kind of where I flipped the switch and thought maybe he's not so overrated. He has good striking. He has good cardio. It checks out, surprisingly. He is a big, muscular dude. Hard to make middleweight, but somehow carries a cardio. Very durable. Again, he's only been knocked out that 2 times, and one was at light heavyweight and one was at heavyweight, never at middleweight. And he's kind of like the Derek Lewis ordeal, where he's very patient and then he just explodes because he's so athletic. But he's not as like lull you to sleep as Derek Lewis is. He will engage a little bit more, land a little bit more as well, be a little more active. So in all honesty, it comes down to where this fight is going to take place. If this is on the feet, Jared Cannonier is going to kill Derek Brunson. If it gets to the mat, that's the only way that Derek Brunson gets a win. And Derek Brunson has phenomenal wrestling, probably some of the best wrestling in the middleweight division. His striking is okay. He doesn't use it as much anymore. He relies on the wrestling now, but he packs a decent punch. I mean, he's knocked out back in the day when he was just a brawler. I mean, he knocked out Lyoto Machida as a pretty good win. I mean, he knocked out Uriah Hall. Like, he's knocking out Sam Alvey is historically hard to finish. Ed Herman, historically hard to finish. He's knocking all these dudes out. And I talk about Jared Cannonier's losses. He only lost to champs and former champs. Look at Brunson's losses. Adesanya, current champ. Souza, he didn't fight for a title, but he was damn near close. Always perennial top contender. Anderson Silva lost, one of the GOATs. And that was a close fight. That was very, very close. It could have gone Brunson's direction, in all honesty. Robert Whittaker, former champ, currently fighting again. Yoel Romero, title challenger. Souza again. He's just gonna beat Souza. Kendall Grove. All right, we're going all the way back to 2012, so that's just way, way, way back there. So yeah, he's only lost to Strikeforce champs, current champs, former champs, and title contenders, just like Jared. So something has to break here. Someone's going to lose to someone that is not a title contender or a champion. And in all honesty, seeing Jared fight Jack Hermanson, I think that's exactly how this fight is going to go. Derek is going to get some early takedowns, but they're going to come at a cost, and it's going to gas him out. He is old. That's the other thing. This dude is 38 years old. He does not have the cardio to wrestle for 3 rounds against someone like Jared. Can he do it against Darren Till, who can't wrestle? Absolutely. Can he do it against Kevin Holland, who can't wrestle? Absolutely. Can he go 3 rounds wrestling with Edmund Shabazian, who can't wrestle? Absolutely. Someone like Jared Cannonier is going to push the pace, and he can't do it that long and survive with that bad chin. That chin's always in the air. He's 38 years old, and he did the one thing that stopped me from ever betting on anyone. He mentioned the R word, retirement. He said he has 2 fights left. Win or lose, he has 2 fights left. If you're starting to think about retirement, you've mentally checked out, and I will never put money on you. So the pick is going to be Jared. The bet is going to be Jared. Then that takes us to the next fight. We have, oh, wow, I don't know how this is on the main card. That's interesting. We have Kyler Phillips minus 415 going up against Marcelo Rojo plus 295. The UFC believes this is going to be a banger, and that's probably why they have it on here. Over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 plus 230. Interest or plus 130. Interesting. Under 2.5 minus 160. Let's start with Kyler. What's his nickname? The Matrix. This dude's good, man. Everyone talks about his training partner and Sean O'Malley. I think Kyler's just as good, if not better. He has great striking. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. I believe Sean O'Malley's only a purple belt, so he has the edge there. He's a ton of power. I think he hits a little harder. The only problem is he doesn't have cardio. He has 0 cardio. He has about 2 rounds worth of cardio, and then he's just cooked, and he's going straight on heart. That's his dilemma. If this dude could get in shape, he's 26 years old. So, I mean, I don't know if he needs to find a new weight class, if he needs to take it a little more seriously. It's not as if the age is an issue, or if just genetically he doesn't have the cardio. I have no idea what the issue is, but if he can get that cardio in check, he could be a killer. He destroyed Song Yadong, and Song Yadong is a big prospect. Plus, he's a top 15 guy right now. Cameron Else, not a lot of people know him, but he's a decent fighter. He has a loss to Julian Paiva. Again, that was very, very suspect. That should have been a draw at the very least. But I actually had Kyler winning that fight, so he just kind of got a judge's screw job, which is good. That means he won 3 rounds. He needs to do that to work on his cardio. And his other loss was a split decision loss to Victor Henry, and we just saw Victor Henry a few weeks ago, and we know how good that kid is. So you have 1 suspect loss and 1, I guess, another suspect loss because it was a split decision. So you have 2 close losses there against decent people. You have like 2 good wins, but you're 26 years old. You're ever improving. He's going to get better every time we see him. And that's just the thing. The Kyler that we saw last fight, even though he lost, let's say the one before that in the Song Yadong fight, is already better than what Marcelo Rojo is currently. Marcelo Rojo currently is a brawler. That's what he is. He hits pretty hard. He's a good striker. I watched him get tapped out by John Castaneda, and he did not use someone who brought it up, Clint, in the Die Hard MMA podcast. Give him a follow. He's awesome. Yeah, Clint. And again, I'll always say it. I love listening to Clint. I always listening to the Dogger Pass podcast with Cody and Paul. Those 2 are great sources if you want to get some good information outside of here. Love those shows. They're awesome. Anyway, it was Clint that mentioned he didn't even give the proper submission defense. He got choked out with the arm triangle choke and didn't do anything correctly. So his ground game, I wouldn't even say is a work in progress because the dude's not young. He's 33 years old. He does that stupid ass T-Rex dance every time he gets a win. So I really need to never see him win again because I don't need to see that dance. It's so dumb. He's extremely hittable. He has good volume, though. Very high output in his little brawling style. He comes out, he's a former combate competitor, strikes well in brawls, hits hard, and that's about it. he's just your typical just Latino brawler. It makes for very, very exciting fights, but not necessarily a long tenure in the UFC. Also, big thing that was noticed is that he hasn't fought at 135 in forever. Like it's literally been almost 3 years, like at least 2 years since he's made 135. Because he fought Charles Jourdain at featherweight. Then he had a few catchweight bouts in Combate. He has not fought at 135 for a while, so make sure you watch him on the scales. If he looks toast at all, I mean, I would probably bet Kyler inside the distance. Minus 415, I do not like for Kyler. Just because he's a gasser. I wouldn't say gas, just because he slows. But Rojo slows too. So the pick is going to be Kyler. The bet, if Rojo looks bad on the scale, I'm going to take Kyler inside the distance. Otherwise, you can just throw Kai. I guess you could throw him in parlays. That's the only way I would touch it. All right, then the next fight is one where sometimes you go in thinking one thing and the fight tape says otherwise. We have Bobby Green at minus 140 going up against Nasrat Akras at plus 110. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 225. Under 2.5 is plus 175. Let's go ahead and start with Nasrat. First and foremost, the dude's last fight, I gave him a full, complete pass. Yes, he didn't look the greatest against Dan Hooker, but his mother just passed away. He had problems getting into America with his visa. There was a lot of just complications. And honestly, that weighs heavily on someone, especially a 26-year-old kid. So he gets 110% flag pass, just a pass for me. However, he does not get a pass in his performance against Rafa Garcia. He did not look the greatest there. Rafa took it on short notice and gave him all he could handle. Alex Munoz was whatever. It was just kind of going through the motions. Drew Dober, he got caught. I mean, Drew Dober will do that to you. He hits like a truck. Shit happens. Then his loss to Maxine held, a little shaky. So, like, he's been a little all over the place. I really don't know what to do with this kid. He looks good in some fights. He looks bad in some fights. He's essentially an apple pie shitter. So he's not someone that I want to ever trust with my money. However, he's coming in at dog money. So initially, I think the kid's underrated. When he does show up, this kid is top. Yeah, lightweight's pretty stacked. I'd say he's top 15 when he shows up. When he shows up, he is a top 15 fighter. Problem being, he's fighting someone else who is the king, the original apple pie shitter in Bobby Green. This dude has never seen he's never seen a fight where he does not want to go to a judge's scorecard. This dude absolutely loves split decisions. This dude absolutely loves fighting to the level of his competition. This dude absolutely loves controversy. This dude is so talented, but just never has been able to put it all together. He's a great striker. He's got sneaky good wrestling. His ground game, he just doesn't really utilize it much, but he has great submission defense. He's never been tapped out. He's just an overall generalist. He doesn't have a ton of power, but he does have high output. He loves to counter, but he also loves to put together combos. If he does become the aggressor, he's overall a very, very good fighter, someone that has not been noticed for years. He finally gets some shine when he gets on this really big win streak, but then he blows it. And by doing boneheaded things, it's just, he likes to make it as difficult as possible. Like Guida fight, he looked good. Lando Venata, he finally looked good. Alan Patrick, it's hard not to look good. Thiago Moises, he whooped Thiago's ass and then decided to go to the ground with him. Why? Thiago is not a striker. His striking is getting better. But again, this was 2020. This is 2 years ago. Thiago could not strike to save his life at that point. Why are you even going to the ground with a black belt? I don't understand what you're trying to prove. Rafael Fiziev, we just said Bobby Green has sneaky good wrestling. Wanted to stand with the striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai. Why does he do these things? That's why I can't trust him. He's so talented. He's so good everywhere, but I hate betting him unless he's the dog. So you have two guys that always lose when they're favorites, and you never know what version of them is going to show up. Initially, I was going to bet Nasrat, and then I said, you know what? Bobby Green could kill him. And then I thought, I can't bet Bobby Green, even though it's decent value. And then I realized neither one of these guys are really finishers. They go to decision quite a bit. And I mean, minus 225 is not the worst. So the over 2.5 at minus 225 might be like one of the key parts of all of my parlays, in all honesty. So the pick is going to be green, but the bet is over the 2.5, hands down. That thing should hit 98% of the time. These kids should not finish each other. So I don't know why I'm saying kid. Bobby Green's 35 years old. But the pick, again, is going to be green. The bet is absolutely the over 2.5. Then next fight of the night, we talked about possible dogs in Whittacker, possible dogs in Nazareth. Let's actually get possible dogs and tied to Ivasa. Let's pull the trigger on one. We have Andre Arlovsky minus 215 going up against Jared Vandera plus 165. Over 2.5 minus 215, under 2.5 plus 165. Let's start with Andre. Let's address the elephant in the room. The dude's 43 years old. He is fighting professionally, and he is 43 years old. He will always have good striking. He's kind of slow now. He slows as fights go on. His cardio just can't keep up. He's easy to back up now. He is not very aggressive, but he just backs up and tries to counter you. He tries to use his veteran savvy. But then you look at the people he's fighting. I mean, he's at American Top Team, which is good for him. But his thing is, there was a point in time where he kind of showed a suspect chin. That didn't go away. What happened was he's fighting people that have zero knockouts. Carlos Phillips has zero power at heavyweight. Chase Sherman has decent power at heavyweight, but doesn't have more than 2 minutes of cardio. And Chase hurt him in that first 2 minutes when they fought. Andre survived and then was not a threat. Tom Aspinall has power, and he pretty much clubbed him. So, no, he doubled him, and then he took him out easily, needless to say. Tanner Boser has zero power, and he was able to get a win. Philippe Lenz has zero power. He was able to get a win. Rosenstrike, 30 seconds. Like, it's like Big Ben, zero power after the steroids were done. So it's like, when he fights someone that can hit hard, he's in trouble. And he fights someone that has zero power, he's fine. And that takes us to Jared Vandera. He has zero power. So naturally, I was going to say Andre all day. But then I really looked at it, and I did the fight tape. And Jared has a ton of volume. He's pretty high volume for a heavyweight. Andre is not. Jared likes to work from the outside, throw a whole bunch of leg kicks and counter. Andre, he just wants to counter as well. So you have two counter strikers going at it. Only one of them will be a little active, throwing like leg kicks and body kicks and such. So that's going to favor Jared. Jared has a 3-inch reach advantage, which I think is key in an all-standing matchup. Where Jared is, he sucks. Jared is not good by any means. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But Jared is someone that will beat you on volume, not on quality of the shots, not on wrestling, not on jiu-jitsu, nothing. All he wants to do is out-volume you, and that's how he's going to get a win. And he can do that against a 43-year-old striker. He has a chance. Plus money, I definitely like it. I know the odds were like, it was like plus 165 earlier or something like that. It's all the way down at, it's plus, yeah, it was plus 165. I know it's getting bet down a ton right now. So I would hop on the Jared train while you can. But in all honesty, when I look at this fight, I look at Andre's fight against Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser just used jabs, volume, and a whole bunch of leg kicks. And Tanner Boser lost, and everyone thought that Tanner Boser got screwed, and he actually won the fight. So if we're going to have the same type of fight and the judges get it correct this time, then you have Jared at plus money. So the pick is going to be Jared. The bet is going to be Jared, and I think I'm going to pull a trigger. I think Jared sucks. Can't wait to fade this dude, but I think he's just at the right situation at the right time. Talk about being at the right situation at the right time. Honestly, it's the right time to go ahead and hit that like button on the video, give it a follow, but over on Instagram, over on Twitter, over on TikTok. But right place, right time is the definition of King Casey O'Neill right now. Minus 385 going up against Roxanne Matafari, the Warrior Princess, at plus 280. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 195. Under 2.5 plus 155. We absolutely have to start with King Casey. This girl, I thought, was the shit. I went back, rewatched the tape. She is not. Casey O'Neill is not a good fighter. Casey O'Neill is very durable. Casey O'Neill has phenomenal cardio, great cardio. That's her best weapon. She can push a pace. Casey O'Neill has phenomenal pressure. She is in your face from the get-go. Casey O'Neill is extremely hittable. Casey O'Neill's wrestling is a little overrated. It's okay. It looks better later on in the fight when everyone's tired. Casey O'Neill is a great ground game, very great ground game, but she puts herself in very tough situations. Like if you get crucifixed by Antonina Shevchenko and you're in trouble, that's suspect. Like something's wrong. And I went back and I watched it. I didn't remember that part, so I literally watched it again, and said, "What the hell happened?" She's overly aggressive. There comes a point where you are going to put yourself in danger for going aggression over technique, and that's all she does. She does not. Casey O'Neill is not a good fighter. She's an aggressive fighter, and she breaks you. After a while, she's going to run into somebody that is not going to break easily. Laura Procopio was almost that girl. Laura whooped her ass in round one, and then we know that she had female issues, and she has not fought since. I know the UFC cut her, which I thought was very unjustified, but I think there might be more to the story. She still says she has some sort of lingering injury, and she has not fought since. So I don't know what happened to Laura. I hope she feels better. She was a great fighter, and she was a great young talent as well. I'm sure she'll be in the UFC again. She's very, very good if she feels better. But Laura whooped Casey's ass. Then her female stuff started happening, and Casey took over. Antonina had her crucifixed. I mean, I watched some of the tape prior to the UFC, and she was getting clipped by girls. I know her dad was a kickboxer, and she's been kickboxing since she was born, but it doesn't look like it. She's just aggressive. She's strong. She's fast. Never-ending cardio gas tank and aggression. That's all she has. No technique. She does not believe in technique. She just believes in aggression. So she's going to run into an Andrea Lee. She's going to run into someone like Erin Blanchfield with whoop her ass. Someone like Macy Barber, maybe she stands a chance. But someone like Miranda Maverick or Erin Blanchfield, she's in some serious trouble, especially the champ in Valentina. Someone like Roxanne, nope, absolutely not. Roxanne is not physically imposing. Her striking is not very good. She's very slow. She's very robotic. It's not her fault. She's very old. She is one of the pioneers of women's MMA. Everyone loves Roxanne. I love Roxanne. We know this is her retirement fight. That's red flag number one. You never bet on people that are going to retire. So it's already unbettable. She's very, very hittable. She is tailor-made for Casey O'Neill. The UFC knows what they're doing. The UFC is going to they're going to feed Roxanne to Casey O'Neill so that she can get a credible win on her record. Yes, Roxanne stands a chance. If you can get into trouble on the ground with Antonina Shevchenko, anyone can put you in a compromising position on the ground. However, I just don't think Roxanne has it, almost 40 years old anymore. I don't think she can. I think Casey will be able to just will herself back up. Roxanne's on a big losing streak. She's been so great for the sport of women's MMA. She will be remembered, but she will also get destroyed this fight. And in all honesty, under 2.5 plus money, I might take a shot. It's women's MMA, and that's the only reason. But if Casey gets on top of Roxanne and starts raining down like she did against Antonina, Jesus Christ, Roxy. The pick is going to be Casey. The bet, you can probably put Casey in every single parlay because she's minus 385, not a lot of value, but I wouldn't hate the shot on the under. I will take it, in all honesty. Casey's finished all her fights in the UFC. All the unders hit, by the way. All right. The next fight is one we can definitely save some time on. We have Alex Perez at minus 385 going up against Matt Schnell at plus 280. Over under is set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 is minus 125. This is a fight that it's been fight taped and looked at like 4 times. These guys have been scheduled to fight. I want to say this is the 3rd time. Alex Perez had trouble with the weight cut one time. Matt Schnell had trouble with the weight cut one time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is the 4th time that this has been scheduled. So again, we've gone over this multiple times. Basically, Alex Perez has not fought in a while. The last time he fought, you go from a main event title shot to the prelims. Flyweights are cold-blooded, man. But the last time he fought was against Figgy in 2020. So it's been almost 2 years. Great wrestler, good jiu-jitsu, really good striking, really powerful striking, decent striking, deadly leg kicks. Chanel, good cardio, good striking, fast hands. This dude is probably the fastest hands I've ever seen, but not a lot of sting on him. And he has a very, very bad chin. He has a good jiu-jitsu game, like statistically. He has the pedigree, I should say, but he's not really tapping anyone out in the UFC. And you hit him is just as much as he hits you. Even though he has those fast hands, you can back his ass up because he knows he has no chin. So Perez is the better wrestler. He hits hard, and Schnell has a chin problem. So the pick is going to be Perez because he can dictate which way he wants to try to win the fight. And the bet would be Perez. The 2-year absence does scare me. So I want to throw him in all of your parlays at minus 385, but he can go in a few. He's definitely the better fighter. It's just that ring rust is real. That's no joke. So don't overexpose yourself to him. All right. Then the next fight, we have William Knight against Maxine Grisham. This is another one where the fight tape did not say what I thought it would. William Knight plus 135, Grisham minus 170, over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 140, under 2.5 plus 110. We can go ahead and we can start with Big Willie style or Thick Willie style, I think it is. His striking, not as good as I thought. It's okay. He hits hard, but you look at, everyone's going to point out the Fabio Charant knockout. He wasn't even looking at him. They hit each other. He literally closed his eyes and just threw a punch and just happened to catch Fabio on the chin. Like he was getting outstruck by Fabio Charant. And Fabio is one of the worst strikers I've ever seen. So that's very concerning. He just relies on that power, but he's not a good striker. His wrestling's all right. It's not great. It's not bad. I understand that Da Jung made him look like he was on JV with that trip takedown. Outside of that fight, his takedown defense was fine. That one fight, he got taken down like 8 times with the same trip. He couldn't figure that trip out. I'm certain he has it figured out now because it cost him a paycheck. Styling Jung didn't look the greatest that night, but he sure did have that trip down. He carries cardio somehow. You look at him, his physique. Generally, these power guys fade quickly. He can carry it for all 3 rounds. I don't know how he does it, but he is pretty good cardio. But again, you can pack him up. So there are chances you can take him down. You can back him up on the feet. He just wants to counter. He has a good check left hook. That's about all he has, in all honesty. He doesn't go forward. He just wants to counter with that check left hook. That's the only thing knocking people out. Grisham, on the other hand, doesn't get knocked out. So that's a major concern right away for Thick Willie style, who I was going to have a bet on, but I can't. Can I bet Grisham? No. Dude's 37 years old. He's a late bloomer. He's one of these guys that could have been decent in the UFC. He would have been around the John Jones time, so he would never been champ, but he could have been a perennial top 10 guy, maybe even top 5. The dude's good. He's talented everywhere. He's good striking, good wrestling. Good ground game. He has a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He does slow down a little, and he's also another one of these Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde ordeals, kind of like Nazareth, like Bobby Green. He looked great in the Jacoby fight. He lost, but I had a bet on him that night, and I actually thought he won. I know I was a little biased, but it was 50-50 on who won that fight, with other people's scorecards as well. So I thought he won, but it is what it is. He looked bad in a win against Anna Gulov. Anna Gulov is just, I don't know why he was ever in the UFC. And then Marcin Tabora, he took that fight on short notice. It was the first Fight Island, and he took it up at heavyweight just to get just to get in the UFC. So I totally understand that. Otherwise, I mean, he's fought at heavyweight a little bit. He beat Alexander Volkov at heavyweight, which is a really good win. I know it was really early in both of their careers, I believe. I don't even see it on here. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so it was very early in both of their careers, but hey, a win is a win. And again, that was heavyweight. But yeah, he had decent power to start, and then all of a sudden he became a decision guy. Hey, it is what it is. Again, he has good submissions, decent wrestling. He's an overall generalist. Cardio slows, not gasses, but he does slow down. But at the end of the day, even though I thought Grisham is just okay and just a generalist, I think that's all you need against William Knight. William Knight didn't win his last fight either. That Alonzo Menafield fight was not what the UFC wanted. It was very boring, but he was able to just get controlled against the cage. Alonzo put him against the cage and just held him there the entire time. And He couldn't move. He couldn't do anything. He hardly threw any punches. It was a very boring fight, but he did not impress me at all. Grisham could definitely just punch him like up against the cage and do the exact same thing. So the pick is going to be Grisham. The bet, I like the over. It is at minus 140. If I had to choose something, it would be the over, but I'm definitely just probably gonna stay away from the fight. It's not the worst bet, the over, but it shouldn't be one of your go-tos. All right. Then the next fight of the night is someone I almost had as a lock. He might still kind of be like an honorary lock of the night. We have Ronnie Lawrence at minus 285 against Mana Martinez plus 215. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 195. Under 2.5 plus 155. Let's go ahead and start with Ronnie Lawrence here. Dude, the number one stat you're going to see, the dude has 2 UFC fights, one in the Contender Series, one in the UFC itself. He has 20 takedowns. Dude averages 10 takedowns per fight. That's insane. That's not normal. That's inhuman. Great wrestling. He has pretty good striking. For someone that's built as a wrestler, it's very smooth, man. It's not a ton of power. He doesn't generate a ton. You're not seeing a whole bunch of knockouts on his record. He has one here, and then he has 2, and then he has a ground and pound. Stop it from strikes. Okay. But irregardless, he's not really a potent power puncher. He's just very smooth on the feet. His jiu-jitsu's okay. Nothing to write home about. Not good, not bad, just kind of there. Again, he's not very, very experienced. He's 29, so I mean, he still has room to get better. American Top Team, great camp to do so. Only 8 pro fights though, so you'll see him get better and better when it comes to the ground game. But his last fight, he did have a bad weight cut. Now, he attributed that to having COVID and a staph infection. So I totally understand having a bad weight cut in that circumstance. But you do have to watch the people that battled with really bad illnesses like that on their fight back. That is my hesitancy here. Also, he has a loss to Steve Garcia isn't the best loss to have. I understand it was only his 4th career fight, but I don't think much of Steve Garcia. He's in the UFC now, so at least it's credible, but I think he's one of the worst UFC lightweights. Not lightweight. What weight class is this? This is 35. Not one of the best bantamweights, but anyway, irregardless, Ronnie has the Dana rub. Dana said that this guy could be a future champ. Dana does not say that about everyone. If you have the Dana rub, you get into a controversial decision, you're probably going to get it. So he does that working in his favor. I'll be honest with you, I didn't want to put him as a lock right away because I love Mana Martinez. Mana Martinez has great striking. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu purple belt, so he knows what's going on the ground. But he's one of these guys that doesn't like get a ton of subs. He just kind of throws stuff up there nonstop until you get better position on him and tap him out, like Draco Rodriguez did. He goes forward and generates a ton of power. This dude is a bantamweight. He has 9 wins, 8 of them by knockout. In the last one, I will again cut him slack. His coach passed away the week of his fight. So he was just an emotional roller coaster. He did not give his best performance, but completely understandable. I think Adrian Yanez was his cornerman that fight. I totally get the circumstance. I'm going to cut you slack on a debut when your coach dies, literally the week of the fight. They just didn't give him a good matchup here. All that power isn't going to help when you're on your back. That's about it. To me, this fight, it reminds me of last week's fight, Puna Soriano against against Diaz brother and Nick Maximoff. Nick, all he could really do is he's going to want to wrestle you, take you to the ground. Soriano is known for his great power and sneaky good wrestling. Again, Mana has really good takedown defense, but sometimes when you're that good of a wrestler, no matter how good your takedown defense is, they'll get you down there, and then it's so deflating when they get you down multiple times that the tide kind of turns. And I think that's how this fight is going to be. It's going to be a little greasy to start. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be tricky, and Ronnie is going to make you nervous at first. But if Ronnie survives that first round, just like Nick Maximoff was able to do, he'll be able to control rounds 2 and 3 with this wrestling. So the pick is going to be Ronnie. The bet is going to be Ronnie. Careful with the parlays, but the bet would be Ronnie. Honestly, probably Ronnie decision would be the best route to get a value there. I don't know what it is for that prop, but that's probably how he wins 80% of the time. And next fight of the night. It's been a while since we took a dog, so let's go ahead and take another. We have Alexander Hernandez, Alexander the Great. Jesus, this is scary to say out loud. Plus 140, getting my hard-earned dollars against Renato Moicano at minus 175. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 plus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. Let's start with Moicano. Moicano has shockingly good striking. It's very, very crisp. It's good. He has great jiu-jitsu. He is a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and looks the part of it. He has high volume, sneaky good wrestling. I don't remember his wrestling being that good until I actually went back and watched the fight tape. It's not bad. It's an American top team, a great camp. His losses, great losses. I mean, he lost to Rafael Fiziev, who's just surging at the moment. For whatever reason, he didn't really shoot a takedown there, and he tried to strike with him. That was a terrible, terrible idea. He lost to Chan Sung Jung, who's about to fight for the title and has fought for it before. Jose Aldo, former champ. Brian Ortega fought for the title twice. So title challengers and champions, and then one guy who is just surging currently. The other major thing is that you look at him fighting Jose Aldo and Chan Sung Jung. Yes, he used to be a featherweight. He moved up to lightweight. Again, looked fine in his last fight there. But I don't know. He's filling out. He's not super old. He's 32. He's not young either. I can see him at 45 or 55. He could probably make 45 again. In all honesty, it's a little extra there, but hey, they're in such good shape. I am not anyone to talk about where anyone should be weight-wise. So if he wants to go 55, let the man go 55. He can handle himself with the big boys. The only problem is both at featherweight and lightweight, he has 2 fights at lightweight, and one of them was a loss via knockout. Chan Sung Jung was a loss via knockout, ground and pound. Jose Aldo, a loss via knockout. Brian Ortega tapped him out. Alexander Hernandez is probably, crazy to say, one of the hardest hitting lightweights in the division currently. The dude is very good striking, very good wrestling. Ground game, I don't know. Never going to see it probably. Killer instinct. If he hurts you, he goes in for the kill. He will blow his load. And he might as well, because the dude is bad cardio. The dude slows tremendously. We've seen it in the Thiago Moises fight. We saw it in the what other fight there? The Trinaldo fight. He slows down quite a bit. So he's kind of kill or be killed. You see him first round knockout, 40 seconds of Beneil Dariush. That's enough said. Beneil doesn't just go out there and get knocked out. Beneil is about to fight his number one contenders fight, and Alexander knocked him out in 40 seconds. That's how much power he has. He knocked out Chris Kreutzmacher. I know Chris is not good, but he's known for being the durable, scrappy guy, and he knocked him out in the first round in under 2 minutes. He knocked out Mike Breeden, again, short notice, but he did it in 1 minute and 20 seconds. When the dude rocks you, he rocks you. He puts you out. So I think on the feet, it's a tie. I really do think Moicano's striking was better than I thought it would be initially. I do think it's a tie on the feet. Wrestling, edge goes to nobody. It's a tie. I think that Moicano might be able to take him down, but Hernandez can definitely get up. I think Hernandez can take Moicano down, whatever. It's basically a wash. When it comes to the ground game, I think Renato Moicano is light years ahead of Hernandez there. So if it does hit the ground, Hernandez needs to get the fuck up or he's in some trouble. But while they're on the feet, even though it's a tie, Hernandez hits a whole hell of a lot harder than Moicano does. So it only takes one. You have one of the hardest punchers against someone with a suspect chin. Plus money when I think it's just an even fight. Give me the dog. So the pick is going to be Hernandez. The bet is I have to go with Hernandez, unfortunately. Someone I don't like to trust, but at dog money, I feel a little better about it. Speaking of dog money, we have Carlos Umberg at minus 245. Izzy's boy, main training partner, going up against Fabio Cherant plus 185. Over 1.5 plus 110, under 1.5 minus 140. Let's start with Fabio. And he's the reason this fight scares me. Fabio Cherant sucks. He does not have good striking, as aforementioned in that William Knight breakdown. He has a very suspect chin. He got knocked out in 2 of his 3 losses and choked out in the other. He gets hit more than he dishes out. Again, his striking is very bad. His subs are supposedly good, but watching the fight tape, I saw a lot of amateurs. Not amateurs, but I saw a lot of regional scene guys put themselves in guillotine. He has a hard ass squeeze, but he doesn't have the wrestling to get the fight to the ground. And they kind of gave up their necks and he just snatched them. Carlos is not going to do that. He is not going to shoot a takedown. So this dude has a really good squeeze on him. That's it. No wrestling, no striking, nothing. This dude is not UFC caliber. He's fought for the UFC 3 times and he got finished all 3 times. So enough said. Excuse me. The problem is he's fighting Carlos Umberg, who again is a city kickboxing prodigy. He's only 3-1 himself. Not a lot of professional fights going. He does this part-time. He's a model / played professional rugby for a while / professional kickboxer. He really just kind of does this for fun and to prove that he's a cool, tough guy. He's a 7-inch reach advantage in this fight. Good Lord. Everything says as long as he can keep this fight standing, which he should be able to because Fabio can't wrestle, he's going to kill him. The problem is Carlos has a very, very bad gas tank. Very bad gas tank. He's only been, again, in 4 fights, and he won 1 in the first round. He won 1 in the, that's kickboxing, sorry. He won in the first round. He won a decision, which is good for him, and then I have no idea how that fight went. I'm pretty sure that was a knockout. So he doesn't fight long, and when he does, he kind of struggles. He just goes for broke. He either takes you out, he's kill or be killed, which will work against Fabio, considering Fabio is 0 striking. The reason this fight scares me, and I can't just auto bet Carlos by knockout, it's because Fabio has been training half his time at Sanford, half his time at Fight Ready. Both of those camps are notorious for having good wrestling. Henry Cejudo at Fight Ready. You have training with Derek Brunson repeatedly because they both have fights going. You know Derek wants to wrestle. Like Michael Chandler, all these people. Camaro was there for a while. Gilbert Burns, great wrestlers over at Sanford. Great wrestlers over at Fight Ready. There's a reason he chose those 2 camps. He wants to wrestle. He wants to get better at wrestling so that he has an actual chance at winning this fight. And Carlos Umberg, I have no idea what his takedown defense is like. I've never seen anyone shoot a takedown on him. So I don't know. I have no idea. If Fabio somehow just holds him up against the fence and tries to tire him out or actually gets a takedown, Carlos could be screwed. Fabio's actually a live dog here, but there's not a chance in hell I can put money on Fabio. I want to, but the blonde tips are just, and his name is the Water Buffalo. I can't do it. So the pick, Umberg. The bet, fuck no to Umberg too. 3-1, no gas tank, striking only. Absolutely not. Absolutely not to the dog. Give me the under. If Fabio's able to take him down, he'd probably test him out quickly. If he isn't able to and has to stand up, he probably gets knocked out quickly. Either way, I think the fight ends within the first round and a half. So the pick is Umberg. The bet is going to be the under 1.5. And the under is steamed, the minus 140 already. So if you're going to do that, I would get on it quickly before it's not even bettable. Speaking of teammates, we have Jacob Malkoon at minus 105 going up against AJ Dobson at minus 125. Jacob is the training partner of Robert Whittaker. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is plus 110. Under 2.5 minus 140. Let's go ahead and we can start with Jacob Malkoon. Again, as aforementioned, he is the jiu-jitsu coach over where Robert Whittaker trains. Only 26 years old, so we're going to see him get better and better. He proved in his last fight that he has decent cardio and decent wrestling. He took down, Abdulrazak Halassan isn't the world's greatest wrestler, but he's not bad. He's a judo black belt. It's not an easy feat to do. He's sheer brick house, and he's able to take him down and control him for 15 minutes. Don't get me wrong. He's still hittable. He's very low volume. He only gets like under 2 significant strikes per minute. The dude does not throw much. Not a lot of heat under it, But again, he likes to pressure wrestle. He doesn't just like to wrestle. He is in your face. He's not even thinking about striking. If he strikes, it's a jab just to close distance and get in on your legs. He's shooting doubles left and right. He's pushing you against the cage and then dropping down for a single. He is determined to get on your legs and hold you down. And he will go for subs down there. He wasn't able to tap out Abdul Razak, but he went for a ton of them, and he was trying to put him away. So great wrestling, great jiu-jitsu. That's about all he has. Sus chin, no chin whatsoever. I mean, Phil Hawes hits hard, but 18 seconds, bro. Very, very suspect chin. And the fact that he doesn't strike at all makes me feel like he knows it, and that's why he just shoots right away, kind of like Malcolm Gordon running in there and just shooting takedowns right away. AJ Dobson, complete opposite. He is just a madman. He has zero, not a ton of technique, ton of power, good striking with go along with his power. He's a 4-inch reach advantage here, which is very significant to me. He is making a debut, though. And what I don't want to do is bet on Dana White Contender Series debuting fighters when they're favorites. I don't like that. I was ready to bet Jacob Malkoun, but they made it a pick'em. A lot of people bet Malkoun. Malkoun without plus money next to his name, I don't like. AJ Dobson as a debuting fighter, I don't like. If I want to go the under route, that makes me think that AJ Dobson, who has zero strategy, just comes in and brawls and strikes like a madman with a ton of power. That makes me think he's going to win. If I'm taking the over, I'm thinking Jacob Malkoun wrestle fucked him to death. And that would make me take the over. Set at 2.5. I don't know what to do with this fight. I want no part of this fight. This is the one fight where I am just throwing it away and I'm just passing regardless. As an overall pick, I will take AJ. But the bet, I don't like any of it, honestly. I guess the under, just in case Jacob is able to take him down and actually catch him in a sub. The best way to bet this fight would be the under 2.5 minus 140. But otherwise, stay the hell away from this fight. Next fight is one that you don't have to stay away from. You should actually run towards. It's Douglas Andrade at plus 165 going up against Sergey Mazarov at minus 215. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 172. Under 2.5 plus 142. Let's start with Douglas Silva de Andrade. He's old. He's a 36-year-old bantamweight, red flag number 1. He hits like a truck. Don't get me wrong. The dude is very, very powerful, but he also gets hit a ton. You hit him a lot more than he hits you. His losses, he has 4 losses, but you have to look. He lost to Lerone Murphy, who's a stud, and that was at 145. He lost to Peter Yan, who was champ at 135. He lost to Rob Font, who was one fight away from a title fight, a stud. And he lost to Zabiria Tagruhov, one of Habib's guys, and he's a pretty good striker. The dude is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, but has like 1 submission win in his record. All of his wins are by knockout. He's just a powerhouse. I don't like that. I don't like when my wrestlers try to strike. This guy's a jiu-jitsu guy who tries to strike. I don't like that. That's not going to work when you get higher up on the food chain. Win over Marlon Vera. Good win. That one is good. No words there. But the rest of his wins are against people that aren't even in the promotion any longer. Henan Barao, no. Gurintano. Oh, that was that kickboxer. No. Is he in he might still be in the UFC. But either way, he hasn't fought since. Cody Gibson, I don't even know who these people are. And I am a MMA. I am all over UFC. I'm all over Bellator. I don't know who Cody Gibson is. So enough said. He's beating nobodies. And when he does fight an actual fighter, these guys are good, but he's getting killed. Sergey Marazov is an actual fighter. This dude is battle tested. He is good. He is over in the M1 global scene, which is probably the best global scene in the world, in all honesty. I love them. I love seeing people from CFFC. Those are probably my 2 favorite to see. Absolutely always fade Alaska FC. And Combate, bro. I hate people coming over Combate. That's why I don't like Marcelo Rojo. But anyway, Sergey he's a great wrestler, man. We saw it his last fight. Khalid Taha, there's not a lot of difference between Khalid Taha and Douglas here. There's really not, in all honesty. Just pure strikers with pure power. Sergey was able to take him down. Douglas only has a 66% takedown defense. His cardio checks out more than I thought it would, but 66% against Sergey is not going to work. Sergey's striking's not bad. He's a better wrestler, 110%. Ground game, on point. Striking, all right. Hold his own there. He's perfectly fine there. Can he win a stand-up battle against Andrade? Yeah. Should he? No. He should just take his ass down. And Sergey's going to do that. He's not one that's going to play around. He's going to do what he has to do. So the pick is going to be Sergey. The bet is going to be Sergey. Minus 215. He will be in a ton of my parlays. All right. And then that takes us to the last fight to talk about, which is actually the first fight on the card and one of the weirdest fights. We have Jeremiah Wells at minus 235 going up against Mike Mathetha, but let's call him by his real name, Blood Diamond. This dude who refers to himself as Blood Diamond. There's not a shot in hell we're not starting with this enigma that is Blood Diamond. This dude it's so goofy. He's 3-0. He is historically a kickboxer. Over under, so I'm so sorry. I said at 1.5. Over 1.5 is plus 125. Under 1.5 minus 155. Blood Diamond is a kickboxer with over 100 kickboxing bouts that no one can find. It was very, very hard to tape study him because I can't find his damn fights, which is weird. If you have over 100, where are they? I don't understand. The one fight I was able to find, I believe, was a submission win. Yeah, it was a submission win, and it was literally 3 minutes worth of fight tape. That's all I have for him, literally. And it was a really bad angle. I was trying to watch it. In Tapology, it says age unknown. This dude is an enigma. No one knows his real name. No one knows how old he is, his reach. No one can find his fights. This dude is insane. All we know is that he's buddies with Izzy and that he throws crazy kicks. That's all we know. Is that he supposedly is a great kickboxer who has crazy kicks. That's insane that this kid is in the UFC. My other concern was someone laid a stat. I think it was Brady with VFS by the numbers, another good one to listen to. I think he said he landed like 18 head kicks in one of these fights, his last fight that he won against Dimps Gillies. Jesus. And it went to a decision. So does this guy not pack power? If he's that good of a striker, Cody and Paul also said he was very sloppy in the ones that they found. So this mystery 100 fights, I've heard that he has no power and it's sloppy. And he's 3-0. Not exactly what you want to hear. Jeremiah Wells, if you're him, you definitely want to hear that. Jeremiah Wells, don't get me wrong. I love Jeremiah Wells. He does concern me that he's 35 years old. He's getting up there. Look at him. He hits as hard as you think he would. Also from CFC, which I just said I liked. Big training partners with Sean Brady and Pat Sabatini. Love that. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Legit black belt. Wrestling is okay. He's been striking a lot lately. It's been working. He's been getting a ton of knockouts as of late, even a knockout over Worley Alves, which is a very impressive debut. In all honesty, that is a great debut. And it was emphatic. I like him a lot. He does not have a lot of time. He's going to have to make an impact now. And I think that's why he took this fight on short notice. Because he's trying to make money while he can. And honestly, Blood Diamond was the perfect opponent. In all honesty, Jeremiah could knock him out on the feet. Do I think Blood Diamond could have a striking advantage? Absolutely. I haven't seen the film myself, but pedigree-wise, Blood Diamond's probably the better striker. I guarantee you Jeremiah hits harder. And if this thing sniffs the mat, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt and someone that's 3-0 who's literally like a yellow belt, he is going to tap him out in a matter of seconds if this thing hits the mat. So if Jeremiah wants to, he can just take him down and tap him out. He might try to stand with him to prove a point. I don't know what Jeremiah is going to do, but if he's taking this on short notice, I'm thinking he wants to get paid. I think he wants that double paycheck. So this was going to be a lock, but this guy also calls himself Blood Diamond. I don't want to get in his way. So the pick is going to be Jeremiah Wells. The bet would definitely be Jeremiah Wells as well. And that is it. That's UFC 271. Again, it was a handful of 15 fights so far. I hope none of them fall off. We took the time to go through all of them. But again, you can find this over on Instagram, over on Twitter, over on TikTok. Make sure you give the video a like here on YouTube. And like we did the 2 weeks ago, like we kind of did last week, like we're going to this week. I'm very confident in the picks. They're already up on Twitter. Things can change with weigh-ins. Make sure you check. There are things that change at weigh-ins, but otherwise, as we always try to do, let's get paid.